Hello, I'm Hal Lublin.
And I'm Mark Gagliardi.
Since the dawn of humanity, one issue has gone unsettled. With the fate of the world in the balance, we're here to settle, once and for all. Best member of the Peanuts gang.
That's right. Don't worry, everyone. We got this.
Podcast should have a theme song. Podcast should not have a theme song. Yes, they should. No, they shouldn't. They sound good. Yeah, but people are just going to skip past it. You know what? You're right. We got this.
Christmas time is done, but we still have fun. No more gifts or Christmas trees.
But some tomorrow for me. It's my birthday tomorrow.
It is your birthday tomorrow, Hal. Happy birthday to you. Let's talk about peanuts.
Yes.
That's what I got you. The official thing that elephants work for in the Roger Rabbit universe. I got you peanuts for your birthday.
You know, Mark, I don't know if we've discussed this before. I don't know how many Peanuts specific episodes we've done. I don't know if we've done
Not many. I don't think we have.
But at my school that I attended that you visited, the name of which is?
The name of which is Arby's is Your Friend School.
That's right. In the days when they were getting rid of all the books in the library because they were switching to computers, this is the time when computers are going to replace books. Didn't quite happen. They were selling the books that were available there. You could buy them. And there was a giant Peanuts treasury. And if you looked at the, you would check out that you would have to sign out the book, right? So it would have names. My name appeared on that card more than anybody in the time that it had been in that school.
That delightful.
Book is at my father's house in Philadelphia. In fact, I may try to pack it up and bring it here with me.
That's a great idea.
This is coming out the day before my birthday in 2025. We were recording this several days before Thanksgiving in 2024, which is why I'm going to Philadelphia.
I was wondering why we were doing this one so early for it being so far away. We don't even know what Snoopy's going to be wearing in the parade yet this year. He could be an astronaut. He could be something entirely new. He could be a crypto bro now. We don't know. Joe Cool could have a coin.
You know what I could tell you?
What can you tell me?
Is that he will not factor into this. We discussed this beforehand.
We did, very briefly.
I want to further it. And what I'm going off of here is the peanuts.com, which is the official Charles Monroe Sparky Schultz website. Of course, he's no longer with us. Oliver Shellam.
God rest his soul.
We have all the members of the gang, of which there are 19, including
most of which are not contenders.
Most of which are not going to win. You don't want to talk about Charlotte Braun, the anti-Charlie Brown, who's really loud?
Charlotte Braun? No, I don't know Charlotte Braun. That's amazing.
Yes.
Did she, now this anthology that you had, this treasury, was this from the beginning up till that moment? He wrote over 17,000 daily comic strips of Charlie Brown.
Right. This was a collection that spanned, I want to say, the early to mid 60s through most of the 70s, because I know Snoopy's trying to prepare for the Olympics in Grenoble, France, which I'm pretty sure the Winter Olympics that year, that was 1968. I think they were in Grenoble. It might have been earlier, but he's training. I think he was training to be an ice skater for a while. That was like the whole thrust of everything. That was his Olympic fever. But we've decided we're going to shorten it to 18, of which we're only going to discuss some of them. We're not going to discuss all of them. We're taking Snoopy out because Snoopy's so clearly the winner. Nobody's better than Snoopy. He's the ultimate.
Look, Snoopy started as an unnamed beagle early on. Charles Schultz first drawing a dog for Ripley's Believe It or Not, later bringing Snoopy in just as a dog. And then since then, I'm trying to remember all the things. He's fought the Red Baron. He's a World War I flying ace, obviously. Many times. His arch nemesis, the Red Baron. He is Joe Cool.
Yes.
The coolest beatnik dog in the world. He has been to outer space multiple times. He has written the great American novel while lying on his back atop his doghouse. None of these kids can compare in any way to what this beagle has done.
So agree with you 100%. Of course, who could forget Flash Beagle in 1983? But here's the question.
Was that a music video, or was that a drawing, or was that a short? What was the story behind that?
I think yes. It wasn't a short. It may have been a music video. It definitely was a drawing of him in the leg warmers. And the leotard dancing. Oh, no, it was a full special.
Oh, wow, a full special. They're 45, by the way. We were talking about more inside baseball. You were like, should we do Best Peanuts special? And I was like, all right, I've seen Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas, so let's look. There are 45 of them that they have made, Hal.
Do we include, for the purposes of this recording, do we include his buddy Woodstock, who was a bird that he cared for, baby bird, couldn't fly, left behind, who Snoopy essentially raised? Do you include Woodstock in this, or is Woodstock sort of separate?
You know, I've been thinking about this.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that he would win, but I would like to include Woodstock in this, specifically for one reason. Snoopy lets the audience into his Snoopy world. We know who the Red Baron is. We know Snoopy's story because Snoopy can talk to us. We can hear Snoopy's thoughts. We can see what Snoopy is saying. We can see what he's thinking. We know we have a window into the Snoopyverse.
Yes.
I think Woodstock, because we can't understand what Woodstock is saying, his voice is just a little in the cartoons, and in the comic strip, it's just little tick marks and scratches.
Yes.
I think that because that's the case, that puts us firmly in the human world of the Peanuts characters, who also, if we could hear what Woodstock was saying, I think that he would be in Snoopy's realm. But I think for purposes of this, we don't know what Woodstock is saying, so that puts him in the Peanuts character's realm. Now, do I think that Woodstock is a strong enough character to win this? That I don't know. I'm leaning toward no, because he doesn't have the character traits the breadth of character traits. He's loyal. He's a good foil for Snoopy. It is fun to have a character that you don't understand.
He does kind of stand up to Snoopy a little bit. Like he will... He will get annoyed with Snoopy and stand up with him, but I think Snoopy respects Woodstock more than anybody else in that neighborhood, who he tolerates.
Well, sure, he's his sidekick.
Yeah. Yeah.
They live in that world together.
True.
Does Woodstock have a Joe Cool alter ego to go along with Snoopy's?
I think Woodstock's just Woodstock.
Yeah.
I don't remember him ever having an alter ego, and certainly not anything that you would put on a t-shirt that would be marketable.
No, I mean, but you could put his favorite catchphrase just in little etch marks on a t-shirt. You know what? That would be an amazing shirt, actually. Just the best Woodstock quotes. Just all those little random ticks and hashes.
I say that particular quote into the mirror every day as an affirmation. I take a breath, I look into the mirror, and I say in all earnestness, I go, and then I fly in a circle into the air and out the door because I have things to do.
Why is this Billy Dot, which is what I'm calling that motion indicator a la the Family Circus? Why is it always crazy flying? He never flies in a straight line, that Woodstock.
No. He didn't know how to fly. He was the one who didn't know how to fly. So he's not sure-footed or sure-winged, however you would say that, to really handle that. Now, okay.
Though I don't know how many of these characters are sure-footed. Like, is that really an adjective you would use for Charlie Brown? The sure-footed Charlie Brown?
None of them are taking flight. You would expect a bird to have a specific flight pattern, and his feels like kind of hinky, like he doesn't really know how to fly.
Yeah. All right, so we've included and then immediately eliminated Woodstock. So let's talk about the human kids.
Yeah, there's 17 kids here. How many of them do you feel are finalists?
I think we can give ourselves 6 finalists.
Oh,
in fact, that would be a fun way to break it down. If we can pull 6 finalists and then those will be the ones that we really want to talk about.
Can I give you
Because there's no reason for us to continue on and on and on about Frida.
And her naturally curly hair?
And her naturally curly hair. Sure. It's delightful. I'm sure there's so many. I feel like Charles Schulz eventually ran out of traits to give to people. Like Charlie Brown is every trait that Charles Schulz possessed. And then Lucy is, the embodiment of the girls mature faster than boys of Charles Schulz's remembered youth. So that's what goes into that. Linus is the earnest, and he was an allegory for addiction and for the bad habits that people couldn't let go of. By the end, he's just like, this one's hair is naturally curly. This character's biggest trait is they're left-handed.
Well, then, okay, I agree with you. I think there's probably about 6 finalists, like proper finalists. And when we say this, we're saying like these characters probably have the most depth. And, there are a few that you can probably name off the top of your head. Here's a question for you.
Yeah.
If the answer is no, then we might have a little mini discussion in here.
Interesting. I don't have the list in front of me, by the way. This is one of those episodes where I feel like I don't have enough screens with lists and pictures and things. So
let's track some of the 6.
From the hip.
Let's talk about the surefire people who are in there. Charlie Brown is one.
Charlie Brown, 100%.
Lucy-Anne Linus
Sally
Van
Brown.
Pelt.
Both of the Brown family. Charles Brown.
We're going to put Sally in there.
Salacious Brown. I assume that's what Sally is short for.
Correct.
Linus and Lucy Van Pelt.
Okay, you got those 4. Now, do you take Schroeder? Is Schroeder in there?
I don't know. I think Schroeder is in there because I think we have to have, if we're looking at who the main characters are, if you and I were writing a television show and we were trying to figure out who were going to be the series regulars on this television show, and we only had 6 slots to fill, I think that we would want to make sure that all of the love interests are in there. So if we're going to have Lucy Van Pelt in there, then the man of her dreams, Schroeder, the Beethoven-loving, I guess that doesn't necessarily work because then we've got Peppermint Patty being in love with Charlie Brown being in love with the little red-haired girl who is not going to obviously be a finalist in this. So that whole thing fell apart. This is what happens when I shoot from the hip, Hal.
Well, this is, but you're talking about the complex romantic relationships.
Yeah.
That are in here. So far, let's assume Schroeder's in. I think Schroeder's interesting because he brings culture to it. They're using actual sheet music most of the time in when he's playing and they show it. I forget.
Which is great.
I've written this for my day job before, like the exact piece of music that they first used.
It's a Beethoven sonata, isn't it?
It's something like that. I think you include him. That gives you 1 spot. I think there are 4 kids that could fill that spot. I'm going to give you the 4 kids.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about it. I would say Pigpen, Franklin, Peppermint Patty, and Marcy are all potentials. Now, Pigpen is interesting because he's weird and kind of snooty, considering that he is just walking filth.
Pigpen, I don't think he's one of our finalists. But
no,
I don't think so. I love Pigpen. I think Pigpen is hilarious. He is a hilarious kind of a one-note gag of this this boy who fancies himself very sophisticated and a gentleman who is completely sloppy and a mess.
Yeah. Even his filth is like not worth,
Yeah. He like, what does he call it? Like, top notch living or something. He had some phrase that he used for it. But I think it might be not deep enough a gag.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I think I know who I think should be on this list.
Okay. I think we need to make 2 spots. I think Peppermint Patty and Marcy should both be finalists.
Interesting. Well, Bon Voyage Franklin. Here's the thing about Franklin. Franklin was, and yes, it was groundbreaking 1968. They introduced Franklin as the first black member of the Peanuts gang. The thing about Franklin is he's quiet and he is kind to everybody.
Yes.
Which is great. These are great traits that they gave Franklin. He is, I feel like he's generally a foil for the other characters because Peppermint Patty sits behind him in class and Peppermint Patty just talks Franklin's ear off and Franklin just politely nods.
The patience.
And then and Franklin is never mean to Charlie Brown.
Yeah.
Like Franklin's a sweetheart. And, I don't know that he's an interesting enough, a full enough character to be our best one. This is the best. Come on, man. This is the best Peanuts gang character. If we're debating whether or not he should be in the top 6.
Yeah.
And I would argue determining whether or not Marcy should get in there as well as Peppermint Patty might also be eliminative. Is that a word?
It's possible. Now,
talk to me. Sell me on Marcy. Because here's the thing about Peppermint Patty. Peppermint Patty, she has a lot going on. She's a great athlete. She is assertive. She's a born leader. That's why Marcy follows her around.
Well,
even when she doesn't know something, she speaks loudly like she does know it.
Right.
She's in love with Charlie Brown to his oblivion.
Before I sell you on Marcy, I just want to say about Franklin that I think this is how I know you have a research because you're just going.
Yeah.
Which I love.
I've done a little bit of research.
Franklin is the kind of kid that you would love to have be your kid or you would love to, like, if he came over to your kid's house to hang out, you'd be like, oh, Franklin is here. He's the absolute best. I'm so glad that my child is friends with Franklin.
Yeah, because he's the nice kid.
Is Franklin or friends with Franklin because he's polite, he's kind, great character.
Yeah.
The reason why I think Marcy should be Hilaire is I believe that she is either secretly or overtly the most competent of all of the kids. Like Linus has wisdom, but he has the flaw of insecurity that requires the blanket. That's born out of insecurity. Love the blanket. Blanket is a great piece. Not against that, but you would identify that as a character flaw, just from a creator standpoint. I think Marcy is the one I think Peppermint Patty would like to think that she's in charge, and I think Marcy defers to her, certainly, but also is sort of takes care of it, like quietly takes care of it, you know?
Yeah. Oh, no, I don't disagree with that about Marcy. I think Marcy is endlessly competent. But I think the thing that we love about the Peanuts gang is their flaws. You know what I mean? That's what makes the Peanuts the Peanuts. You see Charles Schulz, he talks about, he said, everybody wants to be the champion. Everybody wants to get the trophy. These are stories about the kids that don't get the trophy. And Charlie Brown is the kid that never gets the trophy. He also I thought this was interesting. And like one of his goals with this was to show how cruel kids can be to one another. And with that in mind, that right there aims toward the complexity of the characters being what's important.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and their flaws being a big part of that.
100%.
So what is Marcy's flaw? That she doesn't speak up, even though she's the most competent in the group?
Maybe too deferential.
Yeah.
Yeah. Might be too deferential. All right. Well, then I'm fine to leave. I don't think she will win. So we have our 6.
No, but we've got a good chat in about it.
Here are the 6. Charlie and Sally Brown, Lucy and Linus, Van Pelt, Schroeder, and Peppermint Patty. So let's take a break. Yeah. And when we come back, we'll discuss those 6. And when we're done, the best member of the Peanuts gang will be selected and presented to all of you for instruction. I guess you'll know, like if somebody brings this up at a party. The whole point of this podcast is to give you something to talk about at a party, right? Yeah. You're going to hear like a word or something like, oh, I really like whatever. You'll be able to come in and have a whole conversation. That's the real gift of this. It's more than just giving you instructions for how to live a better life.
Yeah, if your New Year's resolution was to be more outgoing at parties, just accost people and tell them why Peppermint Patty made the cut and Franklin did not. And they'll be like, what are you talking about? You'd be like, you don't listen to We Got This with Mark and Hal? Oh, you got to listen to that show. Anyway, let's talk about the Peanuts.
Yeah, there you go. We'll be right back. Chew on that.
Have you been looking for a new podcast all about nerdy pop culture? Well, I have just the thing for you. Secret Histories of Nerd Mysteries.
Secret Histories of Nerd Mysteries is a weekly pop culture history podcast hosted by me, host Alston.
And me, host Brenda. We've already tackled mysteries such as what happened to the puppets from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer? Is Snoopy Mexican? And why do people hate Barney so much?
From theme parks to cartoons to 80s, 90s, and 2000s nostalgia, we tackle it all.
Check us out every Tuesday on MaximumFun.org and wherever you get podcasts.
One thing we all have in common, we all have a mind.
It makes me so scared because I'm like, when is the bad thing going to happen?
And minds can be kind of unpredictable and eccentric.
Everybody wants to hear that they're not alone. Everybody wants to hear that someone else has those same thoughts.
Depeche Mode with John Moe is about how interesting minds intersect with the lives and work of the people who have them. Comedians, authors, experts, all sorts of folks trying to make sense of their world.
It's not admitting something bad if you say, this is scary.
Depeche Mode with John Moe, every Monday at MaximumFun.org or wherever you get podcasts.
Speaking of chewing on things and peanuts, they had raw peanuts at the farmer's market this weekend. I bought some and I made some proper Southern boiled peanuts today.
Oh, yeah? So you have them in the shell. You boiled them up. How did that turn out?
Exactly how they turn out when I'm in Florida and we buy them from the dude who has the hand-lettered sign and the styrofoam cups full of them on his little boat that he putt-putts around in. Totally nostalgic. Didn't think I would ever see raw peanuts in the wild in California. Nothing delighted me more. I know those aren't the kind of peanuts we're talking about today, but we're talking about peanuts.
Well, I'm so glad. I'm so glad that you had those boiled peanuts. Now we're going to talk about another set of raw peanuts, 6 of them. And Where do you want to start? Do you want to start eliminating people? Or do you want to start discussing? I mean, we haven't really dug into each of these characters too much. I feel like, well, let me say this. I think Sally is probably the weakest of all of these.
Oh, I don't know. Out of this crew,
yeah,
I love Sally. First of all, a lot of my knowledge and joy with the Peanuts gang comes from the 1967 musical You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. This was when the Peanuts were at their height. They had just had the Christmas special 2 years before. They had been on the cover of Time magazine. There was an off-Broadway musical about him. And in that show, actually, you know what? I don't know if she was in the original version of that show. Now that I think about it, for some reason, I'm remembering that maybe Sally was added to that show later. Anyway, the version of Sally in that show, at least the modern revival version of it, was what introduced Kristen Chenoweth to the world.
Right.
Her version of Sally Brown in this show. And the thing that I love about Sally is her curiosity. She is curious about everything in the world and will constantly change her mind about things based on new information.
Right.
She is an absolute sponge and dives headfirst into whatever she believes in any moment or whatever she discovers in any moment, only to be thwarted by it later and be absolutely certain in the complete other direction. And plus her adoration of her sweet baboo, Linus, is very amusing.
She's the most kid of the kids.
Yeah. She's very kid. And I think part of that is the voice that they got for her for the cartoons. Because and I think how much of this that we're going to talk about is going to be just Charles Schulz's creations, and how many will be the combination of Charles Schulz, Bob Melendez, and a voice actor in the form of a kid who played this? Or do the TV and movie specials come into play in this version?
I guess they could, but really all of that is based on the comic strips. And they've had a series of children play the children. I mean, they do reunions, or they have done reunions with just all of the people who played Charlie Brown, all the Lucys, all of these kids. The only one that stayed the same is Bob Melendez as Snoopy, that they're still using those recordings. So I wouldn't say there was too much fabricated for those specials that didn't already exist in some form in the comic strip. So what you've seen there is accurate. Like, they mirror one another. That's one thing that the Schulz estate has done extremely well. And they keep a very tight lid on that IP.
Oh, yeah.
I know from working with a company that has worked with them, like, they're very strict about what you use, what you don't use, and how it comes off. So there's a lot of care taken with how Snoopy and the rest of the Peanuts gang are portrayed. So there's consistency. Even now, the Peanuts movie that came out several years ago is fantastic. Had me in tears.
Yeah.
It's such a great representation. And I thought it was going to be like, we're modernizing it. And
just visually, they modernized it with the rounded animation.
It still looks like the classic. It all feels the same. It's not, they didn't pull a Garfield, is what I'm saying.
Fair.
Or a Smurfs.
Yeah.
It didn't have to be brought into the real world. It's great that it exists in its own world.
Good.
I just think that there are stronger characters than Sally out there. Any of these characters are really enjoyable.
I think this might be a 2 or 3-way race.
I would agree with that. I would also, I would eliminate Schroeder. I think he's essential because he doesn't define Lucy, but it's just another great character piece. It's like, how does that character deal with having a crush on someone? And she and Sally are somewhat similar in that they are dominant personalities when it comes to the people that they're attracted to. Like, they take charge, which is great. Love that. Lucy is more aggressive just because that's her nature. And she will turn at you like, you don't want an upset Lucy because you've spurned her too many times. It's going to ruin your time playing the piano. But that Schroeder is like defined by the culture that he brings. All he wants to do is he just wants to play piano. He just wants to think about Beethoven, his idol. So
this is one of those. Yeah, one-dimensional in that this is a later edition and based simply on the fact that Charles Schulz's daughter had a toy piano, and he went, "Oh, that'd be neat." That's where that came from. So yeah, it's like, give me the ones with the more depth. So yeah, not happy to eliminate Schroeder. They're all great characters, but we're eliminating Schroeder. We have Charlie Brown, Linus, and Lucy Van Pelt, Peppermint Patty left. Who do you want to talk about? We talked briefly about Peppermint Patty. I don't think Peppermint Patty is going to win this.
No?
No, but I want to talk about her and see if there's anything that elevates Peppermint Patty to the top of this particular pile. Look, you said you wanted to maybe try this and just eliminate them as we go. But like I said before, she's a good athlete. She is less competent than Marcy, perhaps, but more vocal about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, she calls Charlie Brown Chuck, the only one that calls him Chuck.
Yeah, just the pure confidence of Peppermint Patty and the spirit that she brings is different than any other character. Just like she's the one who will tell Chuck to get up and rub some dirt on it and try again.
You know, maybe that does push her up further. In a world where every kid is going through an existential crisis, there's one kid who's the voice of optimism. You know, and that sort of can-do spirit, and that's Peppermint Patty.
Yeah.
But is that what the Peanuts is about? Is the best Peanuts character going to be the one that is the antidote to the Peanuts characters?
I don't think it will be.
No. It's tough, man. What are you
that gives us,
at?
We have Charlie Brown, Lucy, and Linus left.
Yeah. That's the three-way race I thought it was going to be.
I figured too.
Mm-hmm. Were you a blanket kid?
No.
I was a blanket kid. Had a yellow blanket I carried around with me everywhere.
I've stuffed animals. I still am.
Yeah,
I still have extensive number of stuffed animals. Yeah.
I see a Gritty right behind you.
And there's a Gritty. A Gritty's decoration. That's a collectible.
You don't carry that around with you?
No, I should though. As a good luck out. Maybe life would be going better for me if I did.
Hey, life's going pretty well for you, brother.
Yeah, but not as good as it would be if I carried Gritty around.
Carry Gritty around with you everywhere.
Jeez, that's the answer.
That's all. Gritty is always the answer, Hal. I can't tell Gritty apart from that AM/PM convenience store monster made out of snacks.
They're very similar.
I get the
to
two
one
of them confused. Yeah.
Yeah, they seem related.
Like if he's just like a Gritty made of Slim Jims.
Yeah. Did you suck your thumb as a kid? You weren't a thumb sucker. You were a thumb sucker.
Yeah. Not as long as my sister was.
Did you do that because of Linus or?
I don't think I did it because of Linus. I think I saw some of Linus in myself. Or some of myself in Linus, I guess, when I read it. I liked that cartoon, or I like the cartoons. I like the comic strips. I like that Linus is the little philosopher.
Yeah.
Yeah. Schultz, very religious, put some of that into Linus in the form of the Christmas special where he says, this is what Christmas is all about. Charlie Brown, in a very poignant moment at the end of that special. Yeah, he's the little kid looking for answers.
And the most precocious. In a society of precocious children, easily the most emotionally intelligent of all of them.
Yeah.
Even though he doesn't trade off of it as a psychiatrist like his older sister does. He always has words of wisdom. I don't know how often they're listened to, but then at the same time, he believes in the great pumpkin. He carries a blanket. He sucks his thumb. So he exhibits a lot of like standard child behaviors, which makes him sort of an interesting dichotomy as a character.
Yeah, he's got the optimism to believe in the great pumpkin.
Yes.
So maybe it isn't just Peppermint Patty that's an optimist. He's also got this absolute sincerity. He's got all of this worldliness and understanding to him that I think leads to him being the one that gets Charlie Brown the best. You know what I mean? When they're sitting on the wall, it's always, or most frequently in my viewing of it, it's Charlie Brown and Linus. And Charlie Brown worrying about something and Linus finding a way to take a new angle to talk to Charlie Brown about whatever it is that is worrying him and maybe help him feel a little better about things.
Right.
I think that that Linus and Lucy Van Pelt are both very smart. Lucy wants you to know how smart she is for her sake. Linus wants to impart how smart and wise he is to you for your sake.
Sure.
You know?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess for me, I just like Linus. Like that to me is the aspirational character out of this bunch.
Very likable. My best friend, John, who you've met.
Sure.
He kind of reminds me of Linus. He played Schroeder in You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown in high school. I went to see him. See him do it because we went to different schools at that point. But he's always struck me as more of a Linus in his, like he has that same emotional intelligence and he's very caring and attentive to others. So I have an attachment to that character as well. But I don't think he stands up to Lucy and Charlie Brown. I think they're just a hair above him.
As characters?
Yeah.
Yeah. I want it to be Linus, but I don't think it is.
Yeah.
I think it's Charlie Brown or Lucy.
This is where it gets difficult. Let's talk about his older sister who, despite being bossy and mean and manipulative, does care. I mean, if you want to use animation as an example, she goes to the pumpkin patch to bring him home when he tries to spend all night there and falls asleep.
She comes up with the idea to redecorate Charlie Brown's crummy little Christmas tree after she's been the one to lead the insults.
Yes, that's the thing. Is
Lucy? That's the thing about Lucy. She will lead the insults, and then help you make things better. She will somehow make an existential lesson out of pulling that football out from underneath Charlie Brown. Charlie Brown never gets to kick the football, but Lucy will frequently end those panels with, look, you need to understand how rejection works, or some other, like, she's the older, more mature one that's going to provide tough love to these kids. That's why she's a 5-cent psychiatrist.
Yes.
Do you know where this came from, by the way, the psychiatry thing?
Tell me.
So Charles Schulz, it was either his wife or his daughter, wanted him because he was dealing with depression for so much of his life.
Right.
Really, really cripplingly so, that they were like, we want you to go to a psychiatrist. And they praised psychiatry and what it could do for him. And he resisted forever. But he made, because of that, Lucy a psychiatrist. He's like, here, this is what I think of psychiatrists. Lucy's a psychiatrist now. Doling out advice for a nickel. So that's not only Lucy's trait, it's Charles Schulz's thoughts on psychiatry.
Yeah.
In the 1960s. But Lucy, she doesn't give terrible advice. She just ends it with, that'll be 5 cents, please.
Right. She's in it for the business. She's not running a lemonade stand.
Yeah.
She's running the psychiatry stand, and she's not doing it
I love Lucy. Her flaws are easier to understand. They're simpler. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, Linus's flaws feel more complex. Like, why does he carry the blanket? Is that a flaw? Well, it's a flaw because he needs the support. No, with Lucy, she's mean and bossy. That's her flaw, is she thinks she knows better than everyone else, even though frequently she does. But her good traits are, in the end, she will come around and be the good guy.
Yes. I also, all right, let's put a pin in Lucy for a second and move over to Charlie Brown.
All right. So it's going to be one of these two. It's going to be Charlie Brown or Lucy.
He's the ultimate neurotic, also somehow hopeful. He is a romantic.
Yeah.
He's forever put upon. He's just like, every kid has felt like Charlie Brown at some point. There's been something that's made you so nervous that you're anxious about it, or you feel defeated before you even start something because it seems insurmountable, or because of but he keeps flying the kite even though the tree keeps eating his kites. He keeps, even with his mistrust, he winds up finding the drive to try and kick the football again. He continues to play baseball because he loves the sport, knowing that every time he throws the ball, he literally is going to have all of his clothes knocked off because he's just going to there's just going to be a hit parade every time he's up there. I don't know why one of the other kids isn't pitching at this point. They should maybe go to
don't they have anybody in the bullpen?
Yeah.
There's not a knuckleballer in the bullpen that can just fluke knock out some of these kids?
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be another choice.
Do you think that Schroeder is giving Charlie Brown signs for pitches to throw? Or do you think Charlie Brown's just trying to get it across? He's just trying to get it across.
I think Schroeder's doing solfege, and I think that Charlie Brown thinks that those are signals of what pitch to throw. Maybe that's why.
Fa-T-T.
Yeah, they do sort of exist off of one another, right? He and Lucy, they have an interesting relationship, but I think what determines it for me, and maybe this is cheating, you tell me, is what their relationship is to Snoopy, who's clearly the best character at all of Peanuts.
Yeah.
Lucy and Snoopy for Lucy, Snoopy is an antagonist.
Yes.
He gets under
She's just, you dumb dog.
Yeah, you dumb dog. He's constantly getting the better of her, licking her face and making her feel gross, and then skipping around like just.
He's Harpo to her Margaret Dumont.
Yes, absolutely. Charlie Brown, as much as he's essentially a servant for Snoopy, he's the one who fetches supper and like takes care of stuff when he needs stuff taken care of. It feels oftentimes like he's sort of relegated to this butler role. He is the one who got Snoopy from the puppy farm, who's taking care of him. They've grown up together. They are best friends, despite Woodstock and despite Linus and despite all these other people. There's a deep caring there. And he's a caretaker of Snoopy. That to me is, and he's also like, Charlie Brown is emblematic of Peanuts as a whole.
Snoopy, he's good old. It's called Good Old Charlie Brown.
Yeah, he's the avatar for Charles M. Schulz. That's who he's supposed to be. That's what he was like. His father was a barber, just like Charles Schulz's father was a barber. Mm-hmm. So there's similarity. There's a reason why he's that central character, and he's such a reflection of the guy who wrote it, who gave us all these rich characters in this really fun world where you take 19 characters and over the course of 50 years are able to create, and you're not using all 19. You're not going too deep into the bench week after week. You're able to create something that's funny, something that's poignant, something that has something to say, that is as relatable now as it was when it was first put out.
Yeah.
To have Charlie Brown be the center. This is sort of like a best Muppet, right? We spent all that time talking about Muppets, and Kermit's the face of the Muppets. It's like,
well, it's not about getting to who the ultimate winner is, because we probably know who it's going to be. It's about giving everybody, trying to really look at all these different characters and see, just kind of give them, shine a light on them and see if any other cream rises to the top besides Charlie Brown. But I don't think that any of them do. I think that Charlie Brown is not only the avatar for Charles Schulz, I think he is the avatar for everybody that doesn't get the first place trophy. That's who Charlie Brown is. And we look at Lucy, and Lucy is amazing. Lucy's a fun character. She's headstrong and hilarious and bright and smart and all of these different things. But I think that what she does as a reflection of Charlie Brown, Lucy is the world to Charlie Brown, in that Lucy is the one pulling the football out from under him, the one teaching him a lesson, the one frequently beating him down, the one every once in a while giving him just enough of a pep talk to keep him going, which makes her a great character. But Charlie Brown is the character that is trying to kick that football and failing, that is hearing lessons, maybe learning them, maybe not, leaning against a wall, thinking about them, wondering, taking those little nuggets that the world gives him of hope and using those as the glimmer of hope that keeps him going. I mean, the fact that the little red-haired girl chews on her pencil leads Charlie Brown to say she's human, and he's got that little bit of hope in him. There's hope for us after all to Charlie Brown. And while all these other characters are having their own issues and their own lives, it's really all about how they interact with Charlie Brown. And Charlie Brown is all of us. Charlie Brown is frequently anxious, sometimes hopeful, and I don't know what he would say about the world right now.
Well, people of the world, I think I might have the answer for you from the best member of the Peanuts gang himself. When Linus said, "I guess it's wrong always to be worrying about tomorrow. Maybe we should think only about today," Charlie Brown, the winner of this episode, says, "No, that's giving up. I'm still hoping that yesterday will get better." And that is Charlie Brown in a nutshell. Full of hope, but full of anxiety, and still can't let go of the past, but also looking towards the future in a weird way.
Yeah.
Asked and answered, folks. Charlie Brown is your winner. Good grief.
Good grief indeed. This topic is closed, but there are many more topics to discuss. So please reach out to us via email at wegotThisPodcast@gmail.com, or
you can find us on Blue Sky. We are at We Got This Podcast there, or just look up We Got This Podcast. You can find us that way. You can go to Instagram and find us at We Got This Show. You can also go to our Facebook group and talk about your favorite Peanuts quotes, characters, and memories. Facebook.com/group/We Got This Podcast. Thank you to producer Ken Plume, researcher Kate McManus, graphic designer Uri Kelman, and QA engineer Jen Alba.
And thanks, of course, to our musicians, Jonathan Dinerstein and Mike Furman, for our score and theme song, respectively. And thanks to you, the people of the world, for giving us an opportunity to sit and talk about these characters that we love, this show that we love, take a little dive into the human condition. You show us the human condition. We hope to be a good reflection of that, and we hope to do this group of the people of the world the kindest place on the internet, to do this group proud. We couldn't do it without you. We wouldn't do it without you. And to you, we say thank you, thank you, thank you. For Hal Lublin, I'm Mark Gagliardi.
For Mark Gagliardi, I'm Hal Lublin, and don't worry, everybody. We got this.
We got this.
Maximum Fun,
a worker-owned network
of artist-owned shows
supported directly
by you.